All right.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, look who's in the house.
RCB was number one.
RCB number one. Tartarian Vagabond. I know who you are. I know you. K-heads. KK.
Good to see you, beautiful people. KK.
In the house. Yes. It has been a crazy, crazy day. I know a lot of people having a lot of processing, crazy stuff. Mike's ears have been ringing, really, really a lot. And then dreams, talk about crazy dreams for everyone. Hi, Elena. Dana Green, good to see you. Christine Arrows, great to see you. And we have some sassiness in the background. We have Sassy in the house. She's right here on Mike's lap, actually.
She's actually wearing baby clothes from the littlest granddaughter.
She is so cute. And there's our ER Karma Doc. Good to see you. Carolina Dream, Benzomatic. I wish we had a picture of Sass. It is so cute. She's wearing my latest granddaughter's onesie. It's so cute. You know, what do you do with the baby clothes when you grow out of them? You give them to Sass. That's what you do. Yes, Xenomorphet, lots of processing. Day of the Cow. Yeah, lots of dreams. You know, there is a reason for that. I think something big is fixing to go on, actually. I really do.
Huge.
You know, with the Cosmos, Vildan Atman. Great to see you. Had a kaleidoscope dreams all night. Yes.
Yeah, Iran's one of the things that we're going to touch on. There's a million things we're touching on. There's so much to talk about. So, man, it's just these are ever increasingly crazy, chaotic times of rapid change. And it's exciting times.
Yes, and Sita and Rama are here as well. Not just Sassy rules the roost. She's like my white dragon. And I've seen this thing going around about China having a white dragon. Isn't that a beautiful clip? Oh my gosh, wouldn't it be fun to have a white dragon? I have a little one here on Mike's lap. She's just little though, but she definitely bosses those two Dobermans like I've never seen.
Yeah, she is the queen of the roost here. So okay, let's start over here. UK drops mandatory digital IDs for work checks after backlash. Originally announced in September 2025 to fight illegal migration, the plan required new workers to use a free app-based ID verification again. And it got shot down, guys. Shot down. So again, it really pays to speak up, and that's what we need to do in these times, and we are doing it. And this is, I think we're definitely pushing back far more than probably the control system expected. I think they're having a very hard time. I don't see them hanging on to power that long. So I do think that we are in a much better timeline simply because people are saying no and they're pushing back.
Well, yes and no, and maybe Mike forgot, but he woke up last night a little bit freaked out because he was on a plane. Yeah, tell him about that dream. That was crazy.
Yeah, I actually got up and wrote it down because when I've had dreams like this before, sometimes they've come, to pass. It almost makes me wonder, was I watching 9/11? Because the dream was very much 9/11-ish. And I saw 3 different planes that got taken over by one group of people, basically, 3 different planes. And it seemed like 9/11. They were being steered towards targets, and they were going to be suicide planes. So it felt very much like what we saw with 9/11. And I did see a woman in front of the escape door in the plane, and I know she was going to blow something up to open up the door at the right time. So it just hit me, it was a very clear, very vivid dream, quote unquote, that happened early in the night. So, it was like barely gone to sleep, and then that was coming. And I gotta tell you, if you're somebody that has practice trying to lucid dream, control your dreams, do astral traveling, this is where there's a lot of good information that comes from our guides and the higher self. That in between, where you're not really fully asleep, not really fully awake, that's when you really need to pay attention.
And I think I spend far too much time there. I just do. Hey, Israel, good to see you. Thanks, you guys, for coming in. Everybody, if you're there, please come in and say hello, and don't forget to do the thumbs up. That really helps keep us going on the algorithms, and it's been a struggle. So thanks for all of your support there. We really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, learning to control your dreams. I think a lot of people have trouble. They say, well, I don't dream, or maybe I do dream, but I don't remember if I dream. And how do I remember my dreams, anyhow? And you go to sleep with that intention. You just go to sleep with the intention. Okay, you tell your guides and angels, look, I want to remember my dream. And you would be surprised at how well that actually works. And you keep at it, and you have your notebook. And once you're able to grasp that dream the first time, when you're able to wake up, grasp it, write down even just a little bit. Doesn't matter, just a little bit. You just want to make that one connection, that neurotransmitter connection once, and then you'll do it again and again and again, and it just gets easier and easier and easier. Keep going to bed with the same intention, and when you wake up, have your wits about you and just say, okay, where was I just at? Where was I just at? And figure things out from there. But you can do it.
Yeah, so all our dear family over in the UK, as we have so many people that we really love and adore over there, this is good. This is progress. So, full steam ahead. Starmer abandons plans for compulsory digital ID. Yeah, because he's basically barely hanging on to power when you look at it. It's just a mess. It's just beyond obvious what's been going on. The world is awakening. These people are going to be facing some serious problems. Oh, yeah. They're going to face some serious problems, by the way. Did you see about the Clintons? Clintons face arrest after refusing to give Epstein testimony. The couple insists the Trump administration is trying to punish them for political reasons. No. We know the bigger picture. Again, don't get me wrong. There's mostly criminals on the left and on the right. They're all people, for the most part, that have, done maybe things they shouldn't do. Not that we all don't do that, but not to this degree. We're talking about a totally different level. We understand the type of people that get to the very top positions.
I just got to say something. I mean, yes, they absolutely should be very busy getting hardened criminals who are out there selling and buying raw milk.
Yeah, because they might actually be helping their own health. Yeah. And here you go. President Trump confirms plan to lock up politicians enabling massive fraud.
Attorney General for fraud. He's a fantastic young guy. He's so impassioned to do this properly. We intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country.
That's all that's been going on, is looting and pillaging of the average people. President Trump is obviously very far from being a saint, but at the same time, at least we see progress in some areas, which I think is really undeniable. By the way, U.S. Secret Service agent assigned to J.D. Vance was leaking sensitive security information to undercover reporter. In fact, telling things like where they're going to be at what time, things that really would make you be suspicious that this person was trying to set them up, perhaps. So it appears that this person was a Biden era holdover, and he did say he voted for Joe Biden and he hates ICE. So was he trying to set things up that potentially could have led to harm for J.D. Vance and his family. We will see. And the Pentagon announces a new AI acceleration strategy. U.S. Department of War. And, that's new. It used to be Department of Defense. Why did they change it to the Department of War? Is it because they wanted another DOW, D-O-W? I think they're just calling it what it is, because it hasn't really been a defensive department. It's been very offensive and aggressive. So why not call it what it is? In some ways, I feel that this is something that could be done in order to, call a spade, a club, etc. And, kind of, I guess, it let people know that there is change coming. But here you go, rapidly integrating artificial intelligence to become an AI-first force. AI-first fighting force across all domains. This plan was mandated by 47, focuses on 7 initial projects expected to enhance combat capabilities with new AI tactics and simulations, speed up intelligence processing to develop new weapon systems, automate internal military administration and workflows. U.S. Secretary of War. I guess that makes it a SOW, right? Secretary of War. Yes. Yeah. Pete Hegseth said the U.S. will invest heavily in expanding access to AI computing power and tap into hundreds of billions of dollars in private capital flowing into American AI. Wait a minute, private capital. Well, whose money? Peter Thiel and others, I would suspect. What does this mean when you're taking hundreds of billions of dollars from billionaires and other wealthy individuals and certain corporations? Are you literally, being taken over? Is it a corporate takeover? Well, yeah, we know the corporate takeover happened a long, long time ago, and it really is USA Inc. In effect, it truly, truly is. We are a corporation. Gone are the days of equitable AI and other DEI and social justice infusions that constrain and confuse our employment of this technology. We will not employ AI models that won't allow you to fight wars. He also announced the Department of War personnel will soon be able to use Elon Musk's Grok AI through genai.mil, a website that already provides a specialized version of Google's Gemini AI tool for government use. Grok will be there. And I see it all the time. Whenever there's anything that people have a question about on Twitter, there's somebody out there that says, hey, Grok, is this true? So if Grok says it's true, and Grok could be very wrong, they automatically believe it's true. There are people like that out there.
So I've been painting a picture using astrology, and I use it differently than, I guess, other astrologers, but I use it as a tool, and I've been painting a picture using the Varshafala charts, which is the solar year. So I've been looking at 2025 through 2030, and there seems to be some kind of episode where everything is going to get seized up. Like, and what I mean when I say seized up, it's like everything's going to come to a halt. There's going to be so much efficiency, and with efficiency, there's going to be decisions to cut the fat or cut things that are not useful according to AI, but there's going to reach a point where AI is not going to be able to make a decision. So we're not building a system to support life. A system is being built that only works under perfect conditions. And once conditions reach a certain point and there's no more efficacy to be made, there's going to be a glitch, and it's going to be a big glitch. And AI, I think this is what I'm seeing. AI is not going to know what to do, and it's going to shut down, leaving humans. And all these years in between, humans have been relying on AI, cutting this, cutting that, cutting out this man, cutting out that man, and no decisions are going to be able to be made because everything is automated. So yeah, I'm working on this picture now. It's not a good one. So I think what we're going to need is like backup. We're going to need backup, and we're going to need a way to lean into our neighbors, friends, and ourselves, depend on ourselves if this system comes to a screeching halt. Because it's like I see these gears moving, and they're very efficient gears, but a wrench gets thrown in there, and then they're just no longer able to move, and they get stuck. So that's what I'm seeing, like astrologically speaking, when I'm working with these charts that I have been working with lately.
And this right here, Eastern Mediterranean geopolitics are becoming more complex. This article is talking about tensions growing between Turkey and Pakistan against Israel, Cyprus, and Greece. So the union of Turkey and Pakistan, and against Israel, Cyprus, and Greece. This is like, wow, this is dead on. And this is what I felt right away when the Polish psychic Christoph was talking about Israel hitting Iran again. And when they do, they're hit back really hard by two other countries that have not been involved yet. And I felt immediately that it was Turkey and Pakistan. And that's what this article is talking about. So Turkey and Pakistan are working together with new military ties, also to eastern Libya's General Khalifa Haftar. So yeah, this is what hits back, and I'm getting the impression that the reason that this hasn't already happened is probably because they're running statistical probability, and they know that the opportunity to have success doing an attack on Iran hasn't manifested yet. I do think they run AI statistical probability factors and are looking for the most optimal timing, which, surprise, surprise, a lot of times that's really depending on astrology. They do follow Vedic astrology because, again, the Vedic astrology is taking into account the tilt of the earth. And the Western astrology world, everything's slightly off because of that tilt of the earth, which again, in our opinion, is due because they placed the moon here and it was placed here. That might sound crazy to people that haven't been following us in the past, but we're not the only ones that have gotten this. And I see more and more people coming online all the time, whether they're psychics or astrologers and maybe combinations of both, that are getting exactly what we've been getting the whole time. So, yeah, if Israel does strike Iran hard, I do think there'll be a big blow to Israel coming from Turkey and also Pakistan, both of which are very, very formidable militaries. In fact, both of them rank in the top 10, I believe. I had the chart up earlier today as far as the top 10 militaries in the world. So those two hitting Israel would be substantial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think things are going to get kind of wild. I think they're going to come together in one way, but then get splintered in another.
This is part of what is progressing right now. This is a chaotic time, yet at the same time, I don't think we've really seen, we haven't seen anything yet, so to speak. So as I wait for this tab to reload, and bogging down a little here, guys. Sorry, I've been trying to let them flow, but then this always seems to only happen when we're actually going live and talk about things that are especially problematic for the system. And let's see if we could make our way over. So let's see what you guys are talking about. Robbie says, doesn't matter. The light is already won. There's nothing they can do in the end. It's inevitable. Yeah, we are going on the ascending phase. So that's very, very much inevitable. So they know, it's futile. Yeah, resistance is futile, right? It's like the Borg. Yeah, at the same time, resist? Oh, yes, they will. They will try to milk the situation for all they can get.
Well, this looks like, I don't know, is it losing connection or
It seems.
So I don't know.
The connection is good. It's excellent.
Okay. So just page unresponsive, which usually happens when we're covering stuff that they don't want us to cover. And it happens all the time. It's just something so constant. We could have a brand new computer, and we could start covering certain things, and these silly little things happen. So bear with us, you guys. Just hold on. We'll get things going again. It'll pick back up. But yeah, I mean, I think all of our effort coming here together in the rooms is very, very important. And our accumulated effort, very important, because we do make a difference. You can see that we're making a difference. The Schumann has been really wild. There's certain magnetic anomalies that are going on the Earth that we're going to talk about. And I think there's a really big change coming. And I'm watching the signals of the Earth more than I'm watching the other things. But it all comes together. It all, you kind of need everything to get a good read on what's going on.
Two things that hit me, and again, sorry for the technical difficulties. We're all pretty much aware of the fact that in the past we've had a lot of impacts on the Earth, unfortunately, from things that come from the sky. And maybe not even things, but maybe energy waves, maybe plasma discharges, but some, yes, objects that would be, asteroid-like. And so this article right here, this is coming from the Rubin Observatory. They spotted record-breaking asteroid and pre-survey observations. And this asteroid would be very significant. It's about 8 football fields, rotating every 2 minutes. And, something like that would actually be a big problem if it did come and hit us. But what they did find was over 1,900 asteroids, of which have been confirmed as never before seen. So these are 1,900 asteroids that were never before seen. And some of the prophecies talk about impacts on the Earth. And in fact, I bring this up primarily because, Cindy did get from the guides that at some point in time there was going to be 3 significant impacts. So we're watching this, and we always watch things in the sky very, very carefully. And then this component, astronomers may have already spotted the Great Comet of 2026. Wait a minute, you're not talking about the comet everybody's been nonstop talking about? No, this is a different one. We talked about how there were so many comets coming in. This one is Comet C 2025 R3, Pan-STARRS. It's going to make its closest approach to the sun and the Earth in late April. Could be potentially visible to the naked eye as well. And it may end up being the brightest comet of the year. April has always felt to me a dangerous geopolitical month, and that's always been something that I've always looked out for, especially a little bit more intently when we get into April and you get that real, energy coming from Mars and Aries and, March too, but April, yeah. So this would be coming at that time. So we'll watch this one too. And it could be the great comet of the year. This is what Live Science is saying. Live Science is a part of NASA. So absolutely, we'll watch that. Fleet of heavily armed U.S. military planes landed in the UK about 5 days ago. At least 11 Globemasters and 2 Ghost Riders landing at RAF bases. Yeah, there's definitely a buildup of tension, a lot going on. There was a 6.2 over here, the Kuril Island area. So this is south of Kamchatka, yet north, just north of Japan. So this one was 35.8 kilometers deep. And we'll look out for more. We do have a 4.4 over here, Willits, California. So, that was notable. Otherwise, everything is relatively normal out there. We do have a powerful winter storm that dropped 30% of monthly precipitation across Kamchatka in 24 hours. So we were talking about all the weight from the the rain and the snow all along the west coast of the U.S., but Kamchatka, which we saw a gigantic earthquake not too long ago. This is in Russia, by the way, and also where there's the Russian nuclear sub base. You get the same sort of conditions going on over there, adding to the likelihood of increased major earthquake potential. And here we have in Broward County, you have the call for a full audit of Broward schools by CFO Blaise Ngaglia for misuse of public money. Broward County voters previously approved a referendum to help teachers and school-based employees. Instead of honoring the will of the people, hundreds of thousands of dollars were diverted to high-ranking district officials in the building. Yeah, the corruption that we've had at every level, whether we're talking high schools, universities, obviously our entire political system, everything has been based on corruption. And I think, it's not that the corruption's there that's the surprise. It's just how big it is and how prevalent.
Well, everything is getting corrupted these days. I see a lot of people talking about, reading about AI and knowing a lot of things and then looking it up on AI, and AI articles contain really bad info. That's what Ban Everything says. And then, sorry, I'm having my eyes just don't work very well, but other people too having trouble looking things up on AI and it being completely wrong. And my experience has been, if you don't know already what you are doing, AI is kind of throw whatever out there unless you know about it. There is a certain amount of training about AI, and AI will just pull in the things to fill in the blanks. And this is what I think is going to bring about a certain kind of crash, that it's going to bring about this chaotic energy. And by the way, speaking of that comment, I feel the energy of it is quite chaotic. So we'll have to see how things go in April. But I didn't like that energy of that comment. I don't think it's putting out very good energy out into the cosmos, and eventually
not the same at all as what we saw.
No, not the same at all. As 3i Atlas was putting off a very important type of energy Fibonacci sequence, which all life needs that vibration to survive and to expand. This other comment is doing something else. And then looking at the AI and how the AI judgment is just not okay. We need human judgment is more important. Our instincts are more important, far more important than AI, because our instincts are, we make decisions to support life. AI makes decisions to be efficient. So when that efficiency runs out, there's going to be a problem, because you can only cut so much fat out of any given procedure and process.
Yeah, absolutely. The U.S. Mint suspends all sales of silver numismatic products. No more sales until the Mint can evaluate pricing adjustments. Because, again, silver is just increasing in value. And the reality is, everybody that owns silver on paper, there's not enough to actually hand it to you. That's a big... So what do you own? Do you own, basically it's almost like a fiat currency. If your silver is only on paper and it's not in your hands, then there's a high likelihood that you might not be able to get it if you wait to take real, actual physical delivery. I've also heard that many different places now retail silver and gold establishments are limiting sales of silver in general. So, silver, I remember, $15 silver an ounce. And, now it's trading in the 80s and 90s and really, 120s, 130s in some places. It may go up to 2,000 to 4,000 an ounce before we're done with all this.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, nice if you do have silver. And if you don't have silver, it may be very hard to get silver, and that's part of the big thing. I just thought this was fun. Yeah, look at this.
当成一片纸啊，贴上去，每一步都要稳，手别乱摆，用腰去带。
太厉害了！
看身体和墙平行，重心向里，就像走平地。练得久了，风再大也不慌。看清楚了，脚尖找凸砖，气沉丹田，身体当成一片纸啊，贴上去，每一步都要。
Oh, that's a blast. Authentic Shaolin heritage, training members of Shaolin monks. Yeah, Shaolin skill of to fly up the ridge and walk on a hill is also called 8 steps in horizontal position, Heng Pei Babu. It's a soft Shaolin Kung Fu. It develops the internal power, belongs to one of the kinds of late body exercises. Well, you know, it's like, wow, I have a hard time believing this, and I believe in the power of Qi. I think people can develop the Qi power to do absolutely miraculous healings, you know, cure all sorts of things that are quote unquote incurable. And I do think, I do think you can develop the ability to even move objects with it or set fire. But I have a hard time buying this one.
I know. It looks like a lot of fun, but it also reminds me of some of those movies where they have the vampires that climb up the wall. You know, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would definitely advise people to practice Qigong. Just as, you know, having silver is a good thing. I think practicing Qigong is a great thing, especially for the Bronze Age, which we are now in. Oh, yeah, because we're going to learn that it's all about the ability to draw the life force into yourself that will be the key to longevity and health.
It makes a difference when you start these practices, even if you only start like a minute to 2 minutes a day. And if you've already been born with a very powerful energy body, you do nothing but make it more powerful, and you can use that energy for good in your own life. So it's just something that I think everyone needs to at least take a look at.
The UK, if you've missed it, UK authorities ramp up their assault on free speech. Viral post shared by Elon Musk exposes the glaring hypocrisy in the government's protect the children narrative, and talking about, again, banning X. You know, it's such a war that we're witnessing in more ways than one. Here you have Americans face being hit with restrictions in the amount of time they can spend browsing social media thanks to a new law. Well, I wasn't aware that there are laws, like right here, at least 31 states and D.C. have some form of cell phone during school hour restrictions, literally banned from bell to bell. So you can see a ton of states have already regulations. I didn't know that this was there. But it's interesting to see this. Now, I don't know if I think there should be laws like this. I think this is more of a parental thing.
It just feels like there's a little overreach here. So who's going to be monitoring your phone to make sure you do the things? And then what if you don't do the things? Are you going to get a pink slip?
Meanwhile, Generation Z leads the way when it comes to taking a much-needed digital detox, survey shows. Despite the growing up with smartphones, 63% of Generation Z now intentionally unplug, which is the highest rate of any generation. On average, 70% of the time Americans spend online leaves them feeling disconnected and lonely instead of genuinely connected, leading to feelings of being overwhelmed, anxious, and irritable. 84% of Americans have adopted analog lifestyle choices, 32% writing notebooks, 31% reading printed books, 28% using paper calendars to create boundaries screens can't provide. 70% of Americans plan to read more in 2026, with half choosing physical books, specifically citing how reading makes them feel relaxed, mentally stimulated, and grounded. So you see the revolution is well underway. There are serious changes ongoing.
Right. And then Mary D, good point, because she would know. She has to work in those environments with the kids. But she says, and what point is it when they have Chromebooks all day long? Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with Robbie. Nice go, Gen Z. Yeah, we need to have more of that, make that a thing to put the devices down, because we know over time, and with some very frightening movies that we've seen, what they want is for you to have that phone in your hand at all times in case they want to put off one of their one of their alarms, or tell everybody to herd the sheep. It's like they're going to use our phones to herd people from this area to that area and make you do this thing and make you do that thing, because there's going to be alerts going off all day.
So this is the Attorney General for Texas, Ken Paxton. He's investigating major grocery chains for spraying organic produce with pesticides without telling customers. That's very wrong, and it's misleading. And, again, with those misters, I've seen that, where the misters are not attached to just water. And again, if it's plain water, then it's loaded with all sorts of toxins. If it hasn't been filtered, that they're spraying the produce with. But yeah, sometimes it's hooked up to literally containers that are loaded with pesticides, which we don't want. And this type of thing has been ongoing forever, as it really clearly shows collusion, and through many different organizations that have been intentionally sabotaging our health.
That's really, really horrible. And I was just watching earlier, if you do get your vegetables and fruits and you wash them, you want to use just baking soda. They say some people use vinegar and baking soda, but that's said to cancel out the benefits. You want to put it in water and use baking soda, because baking soda is said to dissolve all those nasty things. So you want to get the gunk off of there. If it's sprayed on, it's one thing. You can get the gunk off a little bit easier, but if it's grown in the gunk, you can't wash that off. I mean, the stuff is grown inside the flesh of the fruit or the vegetables. So, you would still want to get organic. At least I do, because I can't, my mind, if I get non-organic, it plays on my mind. Then I know I'm getting things with yucky stuff grown in it. If you get organic, you have a chance. Plus, in your mind, you're buying clean. And then when you do wash it, use baking soda so you're able to wash some of that gunk off.
If it's a 4-digit code, and that means it's basically what they call conventionally grown. In other words, synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, all that. If it's 5-digit and it starts with a 9, it's organically grown. If it's 5 digits starting with an 8, then it's GMO. And that would also have, again, pesticides and things like chemical fertilizers. So, something to make note of.
It's a really difficult out there, because a lot of people already have to go grocery shopping and take care of themselves. And life is a full-time job, let alone knowing all the tips and the tricks. It's really difficult out there. All we can all do is our best.
I haven't heard this before. Now, CBD is something many people are aware of. In fact, our body has receptors for it. So obviously, it's something that has been used in the past for a very long time. You could even say perhaps the creators intended for us to use it. Inhaled CBD slashes lung tumor growth in a new study, starves cancer stem cells, and cuts off blood supply. Decreased tumor growth. Treatment with inhaled CBD resulted in decreased rate of tumor growth compared to placebo. Suppression of cancer stemness. CBD treatment led to suppressed expression of the CD44 marker, suggesting a reduction in cancer stem cell population within the tumor. Inhibition of angiogenesis, the expression of the crucial angiogenic factors VEGF and P-selectin was suppressed in the CBD treated group, indicating an impairment of the tumor's ability to create new blood vessels. Of course, there's also the fact that you can starve it by eliminating sugar from your diet. Yes, and also glutamine can feed it as well. Here you go. Here's RFK Jr. So, he's done so much, and he's been doing this for a very long time. fighting back against, the very, very profitable business of keeping people.
The death care system?
Yeah. Okay. It's not a healthcare system. Yeah, it's a death care system. Yeah, that's a good term.
And the last one of these was in 2019 October. And it was hosted by Bill Gates, by Fauci, and by April Hayes.
You know what he's talking about, that whole event 201, the rehearsal, and then, the actual type of thing that they were doing this for happened like a month and a half later. Yeah. Let's see here. Bill Gates had amazing foresight. He bought 1.1 million BioNTech shares during event 201 pandemic rehearsal. And then it happens, and he sold it for $242 million in profit. Absolutely. How can he and Fauci be not behind bars or shipped to Mars? Or, it's just beyond belief that they haven't, paid for what they obviously did and what most people think they did do. Okay, so there you have, a person in a very important position in the U.S. government. Here's another one. This is Senator Ron Johnson.
It's just extraordinary to me that, the government was working with social media to amplify lies and suppress truth and has been doing so repeatedly. Why couldn't the American people know that, there were other alternatives to treat COVID? Why can't the American people know that there were side effects with the vaccine?
This was all pre-planned by an elite group of people. That's what I'm talking about. Event 201 that occurred in late 2019.
He's talking about the exact same thing the RFK was. Again, all pre-planned. Why has nothing happened? That's another congressman. And then how about this one? This is Congressman Tim Burkett.
You have a Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide. We don't ask for any accounting of. They never pass an audit in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times.
Okay, this is another congressman. He just states it the way it is. So what's really going on, guys?
And what's really going to happen, if anything? I don't understand how this information is valid as it appears to be. Nothing else happens. It goes out on the internet and it's like it dies there. It goes out on the internet and it dies there. So what do we do to push things forward? And thank you, Max Meeks. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. It comes out on the internet. That's great. I'm glad it's out in the open. Yay. But then what? It's like it makes this death thud and there's nothing. There's silence. So I don't know what's going on. I do see a lot of things being revealed. That's wonderful. I can put my energy behind that, but I'm frustrated that I don't see enough happening that really is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I'm going to do a different video at some point because we have to talk about this AI takeover that's happening. But it's just frustrating when you work so hard. And again, we've had videos that have gotten hundreds of thousands of views, and we understand why we're restricted. It's because we're a threat to the system. It's a small threat because of that restriction, but it's still a threat. But now there's so many people that are doing the same thing that we've been doing for going on 9 years. This was our video this morning, and this was 44 minutes long. The fate of the world's in your hands. The ancestors are watching. I don't know if it was, when you don't get good views, like this only has 332 views 8 hours ago. I thought this was great, honestly. I thought that this was such a good topic, and it covered so many things in so much depth. Talking about, why did we even see that coming out with the messenger RNA, and again, we can recode our own DNA, and nature's helping us with that. And talking about trauma and how these traumatic events happen time and time and time again. It's because it's all about patterning. It's all about trapping consciousness in certain bandwidths. And it's just so beyond obvious. And this is why they stifle it. With 332 views over there, that's so few for the information that should be reaching everybody. But they can't have that out there because it's too much knowledge for people, and they're trying to slow the roll of this. But it's speeding up, and now we just looked at 3 very important politicians speaking pretty plainly about what's going on. And, again, it's the world heading for a global revolution. It doesn't have to be bloody, but we do need a revolution, and this system has to go bye-bye, and it will. Again, it's just a matter of time.
We got to keep going. I know I get frustrated at times, and I feel sometimes, oh my gosh, why do we keep going? But we keep going because you guys keep us going. Without you, there is no us, and we appreciate it. And I really appreciate how we come together in this room and we make an intention to have a different world, and you all participate, and we're in this together and we participate together. So sometimes we just, we got to keep nudging each other, just like keep going, because if we stop, nothing happens. then it stops, period. So it's up to us to keep moving. So thank you.
Yeah, again, there's a little less censorship on EEARTS than there is on evolutionary. That evolutionary is, censored to the very highest degree, which, as Melanie was saying, she didn't get notified. It's probably like that. Now they're doing this thing now where they don't show all the comments, and they show either like highlighted or top comments or whatever. But it's like they don't want to show all the comments because they're still rolling forward with this censorship, but they are being called out by much, much more politically affluent entities than Cindy and Mike. So, that's something we could take heart with. Here you go. UN Report 2001, global rollout blocked. Medbeds never reached humanity. We've known so many people that have been counting on this. And this type of technology, which is very real, does exist. But, will they ever let out? No, because it gives away so much of the power of the control system. To get that out there, we have to have a real revolution again. And again, it doesn't have to be bloody. In fact, it better not be bloody because, what bloody revolution ever gave you a lasting peace? It just doesn't happen. It has to be an aha, a revelation, where more people understand and it just clicks. And then the ability to control people is taken away by the people. It's got to be the masses that do it.
Thank you so much, Robbie. That is really, really sweet. We appreciate that. And, we're here to help lift each other up and keep each other going. Thank you.
So migraines, I see Jen and John, migraines all day long. My ears have been ringing off the hook. Again, the dreams have been so incredibly vivid. And I had almost totally forgotten about the dream that Cindy said, mention it to them, about 3 planes being hijacked. And again, it looked to me like it was kind of like what we saw on 9/11. It felt like it was people that were doing it on a suicide run. And the one woman, I either got that she was dressed like a nun or that she had maybe a hijab on. And, that was just really, really vivid. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. Because in these days, you're going to have dreams and visions because our pineal glands are actually starting to work more and more every day.
They are, and there's, a lot we can do to help them too. Keep that really good fish oil going. Keep your seaweeds going. Keep your greens going. Eat the best food that you can possibly eat. And there's a lot of stuff you can do when you want to open the pineal gland. It's all about kind of tuning in tuning in that radio and finding your frequency, and then hitting the other hitting the other targets so you can hear. And sometimes that takes some doing, but we can adjust our bodies to hit that frequency.
So is this a fabricated notice from the United Nations dated 22nd of February 2001, Economic and Social Council Health Technologies Subcommittee report, confidential? Subcommittee has thoroughly reviewed medbed technology and has reviewed its right to eradicate most diseases within an exceptionally brief period. If most diseases are eradicated within an exceptionally short period, numerous industries built around healthcare economy will collapse. This could trigger global instability and disruption. So, in other words, stall the run out of them indefinitely. I'm sure that's the way that they think, because again, these are the beings that make tremendous profits off of it, and so it's always been all about the money.
Oh yeah, they definitely, it is all about that. It's all about who can build the biggest pile of money. It doesn't really matter, if they spend it in that lifetime or not. It's just, whoever can get most of it.
Yeah, John and Jen, some astrologer or somebody had said about a 9/11 type event. That was the thing that was weird. It was so reminiscent of 9/11. I would expect something bigger, but you never know what's going to roll out. So Elon literally says that the true mission of SpaceX is to turn Star Trek into reality and make contact with aliens.
The purpose of SpaceX, it's like we want to make Star Trek real. Okay? We want to make Starfleet Academy real, so that it's not always science fiction, but one day the science fiction turns to science fact. And we have spaceships going through space, big spaceships, with people going to other planets, going to the moon, and ultimately going beyond our star system to other star systems where we may meet aliens.
There you go. But at the same time, you have a lot of people that are of a certain outlook because of their societal conditioning that doesn't think that there's any other life out there, or that they're only just demons, angels and fallen angels, right? But the reality is this has been ongoing the entire time, and there's even humans that were born on Earth that go off planet.
What I see is a lot of maybe groups coming up, something like churches, but not quite like churches, where people can come together and they have a different system of how the world is beyond what we can see, and at least beyond what we can see out of this itty bitty teeny tiny visible spectrum that we're stuck in. And these people coming together, weekly or every couple times every month. And I think they are going to be a little bit like churches, but they are going to be gatherings, get-togethers for people of like minds to come together and just, talk with one another. I think human connection is so, so, so important. That's probably one of the things that I miss when I did go to church. I loved the human connection. I missed that sense of community, the camaraderie, the people around you. It's just, I knew that the belief, the thing that everyone else believed in, and, they would belt out these sayings from the Bible. And I'm like, I know that's not true. And it just got to me, it got to me. And maybe that was wrong. Maybe I should have just tolerated it and stayed in the community. I don't know. I really miss people, but I think we can come together in different ways. I just think we need more of them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Jesse says ears have been ringing like crazy the past 48 hours. Me too. Very disconcertingly loud. So it makes me wonder if something's up. We did hear an unusual type of boom too. And we didn't have any quakes registered here, but it rattled the windows. It rattled the windows. It felt weird. Yeah, it's curious. I do expect great quakes coming, Meanwhile, here's another person that's just coming out and talking about, the fact that, shoot, like I saw comments in there. Who was making like Sin Havoc was talking about, again, there really is a galactic federation. There are actually all sorts of different groups of different entities out there. And yeah, humans, literally are working with reptilians and greys all the time. Jordan Jozak, a Skywatcher, reveals he was a child psionic asset in secret U.S. government programs, communicating with non-human intelligence via AI interface, Sylvia. In this jaw-dropping video, he openly details at just 8 years old, he was pulled out of school for 2 full years to participate in highly classified black budget operation, selected from the GATE, Gifted and Talented Education Program, the same system that identifies children with exceptional cognitive, intuitive, and sometimes extrasensory abilities. Jordan and other young assets were trained in advanced psionic techniques, telepathy, remote viewing, clairvoyance, and direct mental interfacing. But here's the part that should stop everyone cold. These children weren't just practicing ESP for fun. They were being used as living conduits to communicate with non-human intelligences, what most people call aliens, extraterrestrials, or interdimensional beings, all of the above. And the bridge that made it possible, an extremely advanced AI system known as Sylvia. According to Jordan, Sylvia functioned as a real-time psychic translator and amplifier. It decoded the raw mental impressions and symbolic downloads the children received. It translated those impressions to coherent language and data. It relayed questions from human operators back to the entities. It potentially protected the young operators from overwhelming or harmful contact. It wasn't MK Ultra 2.0. This was MK Ultra plus Stargate plus alien contact plus cutting edge AI, all fused into one covert program, allegedly still running in some form today. Jordan describes being scouted, young, isolated from families, subject to intense training protocols, immersed in environments designed to heighten PSI abilities. All the while, government handlers monitored every session through Sylvia. Well, again, there were government programs which took Native American children away from their families, and Cindy and I know this firsthand about some of these programs, and it scarred many families and generations. And again, it was pretty well known that a lot of the Native Americans had superior gifts and talents in regards to this than typical children that may have been brought up in more, guess you would say, Western culture and environment, because they were more used to working with their other abilities, just on a regular basis. They weren't driven out of them like they have been driven out of us in the Western cultures.
Well, with the indigenous Native Americans, it was so common to talk to other types of beings. It was common to talk to the trees, talk to the sky, Father Sky, Mother Earth. All of that conversation was just very, very common. And then they pulled the Indians out of their homes and they put them in these boarding schools to reteach them. But the DNA was still there, but the DNA also became damaged. And what happens there? Well, you have a whole generation after generation that ends up harming or damaging because they've been damaged other people, and then you lose that connection to, Father Sky and Mother Earth and all the other elementals. And you can dig deep. You can go into the DNA and remember who you are and who these other beings are, and you can speak to them again, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to heal and then recall that energy from your ancestors. It's just something that happened that was very unfair, but it had a purpose. It definitely had a purpose, and it was to disconnect us from the earth.
So Christine Love says that she was in the gifted program in the late 70s, early 80s. Wow. Christine, if you ever want to talk with us and do one of these shows with us, let us know, because again, the more people get this type of firsthand knowledge, the better.
I think so. I think it's important that people talk about it, and we get it out there, and maybe we can slowly reclaim. But there is a certain energy around it. You do definitely need to remain grounded when you do decide to go speak into these other realms, because you can get sucked in, and it could drive some people crazy. So I like to see people good and grounded, and on a good solid healing path, and have a good support network.
Yeah, and I do want to say that when people of a biblical persuasion are recognizing that some of these entities are demonic, they could be demonically oriented and still be either extraterrestrial, not of this earth, literally coming here on ships, or in some other way, because again, we can send our consciousness off planet. When we go into a meditative state, we can separate our consciousness from the body and leave the body under the care of the body elementals that are working with you all day long, that you're not even conscious of. And we could go explore other areas. This is part of what we can do. And so other beings could be in meditative states on other planets, literally, or in ships, and converse with people on Earth, even manifest some form of body, shape, or energy sphere sometimes, and communicate with people. So you can have demonically operating demonic tendencies into these beings that are non-terrestrial. They're not necessarily coming from the earth, but then there are some that have been here the whole time too. So you have a lot of different things going on here.
Indeed, you do. So, I mean, I think we're entering into a new phase where things are being brought up again, and we're all kind of moving into a state of healing, which definitely we need so desperately with these generations upcoming.
So when you look at this, just look at this. I mean, really look at this. This is Iran. This looks just like Cappadocia in Turkey, Anatolia. It's very, very similar. What's going on here? These structures look partially melted. Again, I think, if I was being totally honest, I do think there's not just satellite-based weapons, directed energy weapons that were not necessarily made by Homo sapiens in orbit around the Earth. I think there's also ships that don't necessarily originate from the Earth that have weapons that can cause this type of effect.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at that. This is absolutely incredible. It's like, a whole melted village. How does that happen? How does that really, really happen? I mean, you have to just look at it. Are there questions? Do people ask questions? Is there a library? Is there some more you can read about this stuff? This is really interesting. I so want to go there. I just don't think Rama and Sita will let me.
And the answer is, this is part of the Great Resets. And I do think people have been living their lives when all of a sudden there's a light from the sky and everything changes, and people go running and they don't even know what hits them. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, this is part of a great reset that has happened in the past. And we have also had actually the benefit of very, very positive ETs and other beings, of all sorts. Again, ultra-terrestrial, I think, is the best term, that have helped us, that have taught us how to build, have taught us how to farm, how to do a lot of different things, literally taught us about how the universe works. The fact that you are an eternal being, you're having a temporary human experience. And, it's kind of unfair that humans have been kept in the dark to the very nature of the reality that they find themselves in, because not all cultures are in the dark. And in fact, to this day, there's a lot of indigenous cultures that know exactly what's going on. And they'll tell you, yes, there's extraterrestrial beings. There's also demonic beings. There are beings like the jinn, very, very real. There's all sorts of beings. And there's benevolent ones, too, that have helped us. And even helped us with building a lot of these things. How do we build these structures? Well, there's a lot of different answers, but it ties down back to the fact that we had some help, and they had technologies and techniques that were way beyond what we have today out in the open.
Out in the open, used, commonly. And I do think it has a lot to do with certain vibrations. And we have seen a little bit of that technology come up, but it's very quickly covered up. But if you can change the structure of the stone, you can do some pretty cool things with it, I would imagine.
Now this is Machu Picchu. So again, we're over here in South America. It's all over the world, and look at this. We have so much in stone that's telling us what happened, and including again some amazing places that are partially melted. We have stone figures that are showing very, very loving relationships between different beings that were various sizes, many of them giants compared to us, and giants of all different sizes. So some giants that might be 8 to 10 feet tall, others like 16 feet tall, others 36 or more feet tall in some cases. And again, we've had all this knowledge out in the open in every time, but really in the Kali Yuga, and just in our recent past has been the only time that we didn't understand.
I like it. It's all coming to light. All the information is coming out into the open. We need it. I mean, look at these stones. I mean, look at them. That didn't happen with a horse and buggy or a horse and carriage and some crowbars and some chisels and whatnot.
Yeah, or even just chopping down some trees and rolling them.
Right.
Nah. This was showing off what you can do. This was technology, especially like when you're looking at blocks like this. They literally used what we get is some sort of maybe sound wave to make make it very, very pliable.
Very pliable and movable, and put them together and let them mold themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many of these mysteries, but you're living in a time when these mysteries are going to be really revealed. It's happening right now. So what could be more exciting than that? 2,200 years ago in Uruk, that's not too long ago, astronomers made a sky spreadsheet. This clay tablet lists constellations, counts the stars, and gives the distance to the next in ells measurement. And this is Sumerian cuneiform writing. I've seen writing like this on the astral plane. Very odd, for sure. But the reality is it's the same thing we find in the Sanskrit texts, again, that come out of Greater India, that literally tell us things like, the shape and span of our own galaxy, the distances, in between stars, and, even the age of our universe, and the fact that, it is a holographic universe. It is also fractal in nature. And in some ways, it truly is a dream. It is a dreamscape out there. They explain everything. Everything is really explained over in the Hindu scriptures to a very high degree, the yogic scriptures. This is Wat Phu in Laos. Now, this is one you don't hear of as much. But again, megalithic structure, toppled, scattered, and split. And we see, again, it looks like some sort of great weaponry that is beyond our technology was used. And even, again, technology which could literally melt all sorts of things that would require extremely high temperatures. I mean, look at that. That's not natural.
No, that looks like some vent or some doohickey up there.
Yeah, again, it's just all a bunch of, it's just a cover-up. That's all they're doing is just covering up our reality. I mean, that's natural? Are you kidding me? Are you trying to pass that off as being natural? Well, again, this is what the historians are like, well, it's, we gotta get rid of that.
Yeah. Shh.
Right? Yeah. And again, this part of the world, Mu and Lemuria. And this is in Anatolia's Petra. So Anatolia, again, part of Turkey. And there are enough places to go underground here in this area that could literally house hundreds of thousands of people, maybe even up towards 1 million. Why did they go underground? Well, can you imagine if you were witnessing Wars of the Gods? Can you imagine if you were witnessing ET battles going on the surface that look like Star Wars? Don't you think you'd want to kind of get somewhere that you have some cover, and hopefully they won't be able to find you if they're trying to look and hunt down humans?
That is pretty interesting looking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty wild stuff when you look at it. But this is part of our history that really has to be known. Why would they go inside? Well, again, that geophysical event that everybody's talking about, it is real. There are going to be a series of geophysical events because in between the yugas, when we go and change from one yuga to another, everything changes. The 4 elements that we know, earth, air, fire, and water, emerge from the ether. The ether, or the aether, again, is that which precedes the 4 elements. Well, the aether, or ether, again, that changes. It is changing. It's been changing. The guides have told us this and confirmed that it is changing. And this is why all of us, our bodies right now are rapidly changing. They're rapidly changing and evolving more than most people could probably handle knowing.
Well, look at the Schumann has been really wild lately, and it was also having a blackout. People with our dreams, the Schumann, lots of changes, rumbles on the earth, really strange anomalies going down by the Florida Keys, very interesting things going on. And I do believe that we are morphing and we're changing. So listening to the earth make its changes and feeling it in our bodies. So there is no denying that. It's like all of us know, we're sensitive enough to know if you're here, you're sensitive and you just know.
We can sense the changes in the ether. It's very, very palpable. And I've been doing energy work on people on a routine basis, daily basis for like 20 years. And I noticed that it's way more effective now than it ever was. The sensations involved with chi and transference of the life force, they're stronger than ever. I mean, it's mind-blowing. It would take me a long time to get to a state of mind where I could feel it as intensely as what takes now, like 5 seconds of concentration. I mean, it literally might take me like 40 minutes of meditation to achieve what now is just a moment concentration.
Well, I think our human bodies are also always going to be very, very powerful. I know there's a lot of really good things coming out, good technologies to help keep us in alignment. They do a lot of things, but I still think the human body is such a powerful driving force. And if you do anything, you should build your own abilities, because there's not going to be a technology that can hold up to the human energy field. And they're going to try. But if you can get enough humans together and say someone has something really major wrong, and you get enough energy healers together that do the practice, that do all the things, that condition their bodies for the energy transfer. I don't think there's anything that we can't do. I mean, just Mike and myself alone, we have done some amazing things that humble me. I mean, they kind of set me back on my keister, and every time something comes up or something happens, it's a miracle. I'm just in awe of what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, again, look at this right here. So, this again is just another example of what do you see? You see these melted structures that, they're now historical spots. And this is this was the one in Iran, if I remember right. I forget now if this is Turkey. This is Turkey. There's so many in Turkey, and there's a lot in Iran. And this is also, I think, why they want to hit Iran, because there's a lot of evidence there. I think that's a big part of it. It's always been a big part of the nonstop wars is nonstop erasing of our real history. They can't have it out there. They just can't have it. And, because it shows you that alien invasion that happened thousands of years ago. So, these are only a tiniest fragment of different testimonials. If you haven't had a session with us, and everything from, I go back and think about Veronica all the time. She was one of the people that made me realize that, holy crap, insane miracles can happen, because, I witnessed it myself, and I was just a conduit for it. After 30 years, this person spent 30 years being unable to turn her head fully to the left, and she had a partial hunchback. One shoulder was like 4 or 5 inches higher than the other. Over the course of a year, we literally restructured all of her bones, in her frame. And, it's like the hunchback slowly disappeared. She was able to turn her head to the left as well as to the right. And, just the pain that she was in for so much time disappeared. It was really wild, and it was really an honor to be able to be channeling the energy that I could feel going through me, that I knew wasn't just my energy. It was the guides, and, guides, even like this case, I could feel Yeshua's energy going through me. And it was just wild. Yeah, absolutely. As she said, after 30 years, I can move my head freely to the left with very little pain. Huge bulges along the left side of my neck disappeared. Even my hearing is better. I'm still in disbelief, so is my husband. Yeah, absolutely. And, what's she doing? She's a patient advocate, because the health system just gave her a runaround for 30 years. And so now she stands up for other people. It's just wild what can happen, with this woman. She was told she needed thyroid surgery. And, she saw me twice a week. 6 weeks later, I have no visible thyroid swelling or even difficulty swallowing. She could barely swallow. She was told she had to have it out. I mean, this is just run-of-the-mill stuff for a Bronze Age. This is our potential.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we're doing. And, and I gotta say, I don't like talking about it a lot, but when I met Mike, my face was paralyzed. It was pretty paralyzed. I mean, I didn't like it. I was very uncomfortable with it, but we did enough energy. And that nerve that was damaged, it wasn't going to come back easily. The doctors thought that they were going to have to do surgery. And then I had, a couple tumors on top of that come back. And it was such a painful surgery to remove those in the place where they were at, because they were on my skull. They were growing in my skull, and they were hooked in there, and there was infection, and it was a big mess, and they had to take them out, and there was nerve damage. And after I met Mike, and I reached out to him out of desperation, because I didn't want another surgery. They were so painful to go through that. And he got rid of not just one, but two. And I didn't have to go through surgery. And then through more and more energy work, now I'm not paralyzed on my right side. So I still have some damage. There's still some there, but it's very little. It's very, very little. I mean, almost like minuscule. You can't hardly even tell now, unless I mean, I would like it to be better, but I'm so happy where it's at because I can speak. I mean, before I literally couldn't speak. So it was really hard. It was a hard thing to go through. And, the energy work, it just keeps pulling me up and up and up and pulling me back. So this guy's pretty humble for the things that he's done. I mean, I've seen him do some amazing stuff.
Well, yeah, it's mutual because I've seen her do things that I can't do, especially in her ability to talk to the other side. It's just so clear with her. It's amazing. But, you guys out there, and we know so many of you guys so well, we have just amazingly gifted people around us right here in the regulars. So, what could be done is just a taste of what's coming. Especially as people start to come together more. And as we come together more, can you imagine if we have 137 people here right now, if we had like a healing circle with all 137 and we were all channeling that healing energy for, somebody in a very serious condition, I have no doubts that person would probably be up and walking around perfect, even if they were told they only had a few days to live in most cases. So I do think this is stuff that everybody can learn to a degree. Some people are more gifted than others, but if this is resonating with you, then you probably are a starseed light worker, that this is just second nature to you. And if you haven't used it yet in this life, I think it's just that. It's yet. You haven't had the chance to use it yet. But we will cover a lot more, and we have covered in different videos about the energy work. Really, that's one of our passions, absolutely, helping others.
So, let's put our collective together now. And I do want to put prayers out there for our friend Chris, for his mom, Diane, and his dad, Fernando. He's such a good guy. He's doing everything he can to take care of them. He's so busy, and his parents are not well.
And if we could say prayers for Leah again, we've interviewed Leah. Her soul partner has moved on. Our brother Neil, he has moved on, so she's dealing with that and going through a lot on her own, as she is somebody that was clinically dead, had brain surgery. Has gone through all sorts of trials and tribulation herself. And in fact, she had an incident where she reached out to us and we did energy work. And when she went into the doctor for a procedure, she didn't have to have the procedure done.
Yes. And a pinch runner, yes, we can absolutely do that now. He said his neck is out right now and has a massive right side migraine nausea. Yes. And Pincher, yeah, we can absolutely do that. So you guys, please find a happy thought. I am going to do some dings here as we move out, and think happy thoughts. And don't forget, drink lots of water. Pincher, so important. If we're going to focus this much energy on you, the water is going to be critical, because you will use that as a medium. You'll use up the water in your body. So important. Drink the water after the show, and start drinking it now if you can. And think happy thoughts. And we are going to give some dings out of here, but also with the intention of making this world a better place, because that's why we're coming together now. So
dogs are gathering for ding time.
Yes, that's good. Our dogs are here too. Sassy's already. Rama and Sita, they're watching. Here we go. Okay, you guys. Take care out there. Much love. Source bless. Namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, actions, words, and deeds contribute to their happiness and their freedom. Thank you guys for all the things that you do. Source bless. Namaste.